This book is horrific. It's disgustingly horrific. That's all. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's disgustingly horrific. And hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for clicking on my channel. So, this video is so impromptu because I'm cooking and I was doing some work and I thought of, I've been doing the 3 reasons why, and I thought of a book that I had a lot of feelings towards when I read it like last year or earlier this year. It was last year. And I've let that book sit. And because I recently finished a book called Monday's Not Coming, and I'm in a very eerie mood, like I feel very disturbed, I'll be very honest. And I thought of this book and I was like, wait, this book also made me feel this way. And I think it's a good thing. I think you really have to have good writing paired with a good enough imagination to make someone feel some kind of way. So, today's book, like you've already seen, is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Now, this book, first of all, this cover is, I think the cover was one of the things that made me get the book. It's fucking beautiful. I will say that letting it sit now, this book has so much conversation beneath it that I appreciate, to be honest. And that's one thing about reading. When you read, obviously your first thoughts and how the book makes you feel immediately you finish is very important. But like when the book sits for a while, how do you feel? Is it forgettable? Is it this book is not forgettable? So 3 reasons why. Number 1, this book is horrific. It's disgustingly horrific. That's all. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's disgustingly horrific and it just did a good job. So, and I don't mean that in a very graphic, descriptive, over the top way. I mean, it's like, and it's not a slow burn either. I don't know how to explain. Like, I think that's why I had trouble when I finished reading the book, because it's not like it's taking its time. It's not feeding you breadcrumbs. It's just very like, if this book was a movie, it would be black and white and it would be like the Twilight Zone. That's what it is. Have I seen enough of the Twilight Zone to like to compare? No, but I feel like that's what it really gives. So it's horrific and it's disgustingly descriptive and it's just so delicious. Now, for anyone who really cares for a premise, I don't really give as much of a premise, but to just scale through it very quickly. This girl who's like a socialite in like, I think in 1800s, is that what? 1950s Mexico, has been sent by her dad to go check on her cousin or sister family, basically, who's now living with her in-laws in like this castle up the hill, a castle like thing up the hill basically. And she's been sending very disturbing letters back home and everyone's like, oh, that's just her, she's being dramatic. So this girl goes to check on what's going on. So she's a guest at this house and they have very oddly specific rules, and she's like, nah, this girl, her cousin or her sister, her family member basically, is not alright, we need to get her the fuck out of here. But this in-laws are like, no, you can't do that, you're not allowed to do that. And trust me, the way this book ends, I remember how it ends now. I'm like, oh wait, what's going on? Number 2, the storyline is impeccable. And I mean that because most times I read a book and I think of 1,000 different ways as to how this book has been translated or written already in the past, which is not a bad thing. I think everyone has the right to reimagine and rewrite something however they see fit. But it was just different. So you have this girl who's like in her early 20s trying to decide what her major is going to be. And I think she's trying to decide between like film and like something like, obviously there's no social media here, but like something that's like has to do with like being a socialite, because she's very beautiful, very attractive, and like it's like economics or politics, something around that regard. And her dad wants us to just come back and run the company. So let's think of like that kind of like family. And this was actually the caveat where he said, if you go check on your cousin, your family member, then I will allow you to study whatever you want. Because remember, in these days as well, women weren't really allowed to just like go off willy-nilly and do what they really wanted to do. So that was like a caveat. So the story is very interesting. And as everything is happening in this book that like strays away almost from her. So it's like, it starts with like what she wants and how this book is about her, to what's happening to her and what's happening with her cousin. And then you're thinking at the back of your mind, wait, this girl needs to make it out alive because she kind of has to go study in college. It's fantastic. And last but not the least, I think all the characters in this book as well are disturbing in a good way. There's something happening with them that you like also try to figure out. So like there are like 2 people you're going to meet, like the husband of the family member and like one of the caretakers who's like also like an aunt or like a mom to the husband. And you're like, what's, and then there's also a dad. So it's like those are 3 people in the house and like a love interest. So it's 4 people. They all have this different stories and like, wait, what's going on with you? Like, what's your deal? Like, underneath all this facade, why are there so many rules? Why does everything have to be specific? Why do we have to eat dinner together at the dining table? Why can't we talk at dinner? So much shit going on, and you're like, what's everyone's deal? I think the characters are just they're not like one dimensional, and I think that's really, really good as well. Now, the love interest, I will say, I'm like, you've probably seen in some of my vlogs, I'm not against love interest and like romance, but I think when there are so many stakes, like, let's be fucking realistic. If I'm in a house where I'm not allowed to leave, I don't think love is going to be like on my bucket list at that point. I just want to get the fuck out. So the love interest was cute, but he wasn't really as necessary. And it's not, it's neither here nor there. It's just a thing with me. Sometimes I like to be realistic and think, in this situation in real life, I don't think romance or love or anyone's fucking libido will be present, if we're being honest. Like an underlining story as to how this family of the in-laws built their wealth that is very disturbing and interesting, and also in many ways has the elements of truth to it that I really, really appreciated. And it basically had to deal with like miners who helped build this family's wealth and the in-laws' wealth. And when they died in like the caves, they never really sent their bodies back to their families because like either they were illegal immigrants or otherwise. So they built like a massive graveyard, within this family's land. And there's also a story within that I thought was disturbing and just very interesting as well. It's fucking spectacular. Now, one reason why I did not really like this book was just how I got lost sometimes. That might just be a me thing. I think, like I said with the Taking of Jake Livingston, maybe it was my imagination, because I let that book sit. I've let this book sit as well. It's been a couple months. And sometimes it just got really slow. And I talked about how it doesn't really spoon feed you. Like, everything's on go. But at the same time, when some things are a bit graphic and it's getting a bit too detailed, it gets a bit slow with like how your imagination wants to take it or otherwise. So that's the only reason. It just got a bit slow for me, and it picked up when it got a bit slow. And this was one book that I remember not going through as quickly. I go through books in like a week or 2 weeks, but I just depending. But this book, I was like, I wasn't in a haste until it picked up. I was like, oh my gosh, I'll run through it, get to a slow point, put it down, so you get the gist. But it's a fucking amazing book, and I highly recommend it. And I'm also really curious. I remember thinking about it, so how I want to read something that this author has written to see if there's a different tone, and to just see how she kind of like, because you have to be really imaginative to pull this book off, and it's amazing. But yeah, so like I said, this video is impromptu. I'm cooking, I'm doing some work, and I brought you a book recommendation. So if you need something to read this month, and it's also getting to that spooky season, and like everyone talks about like how, oh my gosh, it's like the dark academia month and it's spooky. I never understood it till now. I'll be very honest with you. I didn't really get it till now. So if you need a spooky read, there you have it. I don't think it could get spookier than that. And yeah, thank you for clicking. Thank you for watching. I'm Dami, and the next time I have a book to talk about, or a book I'm reading, or books I want to read, you will see me. So feel free to subscribe, share with someone who you think will enjoy this book, and come back next time. Watch some of my other videos. They're pretty fun. I think I read pretty good books and have different opinions as to what you might have, and I think that makes sense for good conversation. Bye-bye.